It's too many.
All
All right,
right.
we are live, and the most important topic of conversation is like I'm curious, do you use hair product or does it just look that good all the time?
Yeah, man, I actually do use hair product because I can get the Jufro and it can just be out of control. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so I gotta put a little conditioner in just to keep,
All right.
keep things calm. You know what I'm saying? Keep
Yes, I
things
do.
calm.
Still look professional though. It's all good.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
All right,
I've
so
been called I've been called worse. Let's put it that way.
I think we got a bunch of people clocking in before we get started. Would love to see where everybody's where everybody's logging in from. So
Yeah,
would love it if you could share who you are and where you're from.
for sure. I'll put mine in as well.
Most likely it's hot there, wherever you're at.
Are you at the beach right now, or are you in Maryland?
In Maryland. Yep.
Yeah, it's super hot today. Oh wait, I gotta do everyone. Hold on. The nation's capital.
Hey Diana. Hello from
Patrick
Arizona.
Farrell, what's up, Pat? What's up, Patrick? Dr. Pinto. Dr. Pinto's in the house. Very excited. Love me some Dr. Pinto and his wife Ann.
All
What's up,
right.
Diana? Michigan. I wonder if Dr. Ann was looking forward to college football this year. See if they can do a little repeat at Ann Arbor. What's up, Patrick? Dr. Takata from New York. New York. Daniel's from New York. India. All right.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's super awesome. We are international.
Yeah.
I
Embodying
love it. I
clinic
love it.
worldwide.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
We're gonna get started in just a couple minutes here. We're gonna give it about 4 minutes. Go
Oh
blue.
crap. Tom Young's in the house. Oh man, and he's a Michigan fan. Can we kick him out? He's a really good dude, but like just kick him out because he's a Michigan fan. And we just can't have any of that today. Just kidding, buddy. I love you. Excited for college football to start. Very excited. Oh, and Dr. Pinto is a Clemson fan.
Clemson.
And you know what? He bet me a couple of years ago about the Clemson Ohio State semifinal. I think it was a semifinal of the national championship. I can't remember, but I lost, and I lost. I had to pay. I had to like take him to dinner. Him and his wife to dinner, and I don't know. It was like probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I just never got down to Williamsburg until this past month, and I went
Oh,
down there, and
yeah,
yep.
that's
So
awesome.
he's one of our awesome early adopter Embody customers, and so I went down there to do a training with him and his team, and they've got an awesome practice. And yeah, I took him out to dinner, so he can't hold the fact that I owe him dinner over my head anymore
You
because
are a man.
I've paid that bet,
Yes, you have.
paid that bet.
I'm a Bulldogs fan, if you could see there.
Yeah, I see that
Yeah,
preseason
pretty
#1 ranking, man.
pretty easy to be a Bulldogs fan.
Yeah, exactly. Got it
I've
even
got
easier now that Saban's gone from Alabama too.
yes. It's easy when you invest there.
So hey, before we get started, I would love to also ask the audience really quick, like, what is it that you're looking to learn from today? I mean, the title's pretty clear, right? But maybe you could share one of your pain points or something that you're looking to learn today. The more feedback we get about like what you're looking to get out of this today, I think the more that we can help you. So please feel free to share.
I want to add just a little
Out there.
asterisk to that one. Pain points around front desk and
Yeah,
like
staffing,
staffing of it and the consistent, which seems to be a common thread, which is
the
the term.
churn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, sure. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So guys, we'll get started at around 1:05. So we're just waiting for some folks to still come in. All right, we had a
Yep.
bunch of people on the list, so I want to give them an opportunity, or we want to give them an opportunity.
And thank you in advance, everybody, for spending your lunchtime with us. We got some,
Yeah.
this would be a fruitful and useful conversation.
Yep. Looking forward to this. Hi, Manal.
Hello, everyone.
Manal's in the house. All right, we got just another minute to go.
60 seconds. Here we go.
Here we go. Getting ready here. Looking to see how to leverage Genesis to automate tasks consuming time of our staff and to more effectively track patient outcomes, retention, communication. All right. I think Brian and I can handle that for you.
You're in the right spot, Tom.
So just let me know when, oh, it's almost 1:05.
Yep. I'm looking. I got my clock right here.
Cool.
Anybody else have some pain points they would like to share? We'd love to hear from you. It's not counting down by the seconds, but it's coming.
It's almost there. I think we're here.
Okay, so let's get started. This is a collaborative event between Clinic Mind, which is just for some clarity here, Clinic Mind, everyone's familiar with Genesis. Genesis is the flagship EHR product of Clinic Mind. We have a host of products listed under there. That's not what this is about. What this is about is my good friend Jay Greenstein. And I'm really excited to jump into this conversation because he did something I've seen most people not do. And this, you keep applying this to every aspect of your life, which is innovation and creativity. We were all faced with COVID, offices shutting down and staff, not knowing what to do. And I'm not going to steal your thunder, but we're going to dive into how you pivoted with this disaster and this epidemic. And one of the key elements was leveraging technology. And Embody is an amazing technology. We'll share more about that. Your parent company, Kaizenovate, created that. Genesis and Clinic Mind, obviously technology. So let's get rolling here. We're going to talk to you today. We talked about maximizing profit, and I just want to put a caveat here that we care about people, and we that's very important. And Dr. J is going to talk about that. It's a very important point because it's not about not caring about people. It's about leveraging technology and helping your people create mastery and efficiency and the most profits you can in your office. So, Dr. J.
Amen, brother. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to talk about this topic because I really do think that it can have a lot of impact on the practices and the people who run them. And it's hard to be an entrepreneur these days. And so I'm really hoping that this delivers lots and lots of value. This is the first of a 3-part series. So today we'll be talking about minimizing staff and maximizing profits. And I'll share with you the agenda in just a second. The next webinar that we have is September 11th, where we're going to be talking about really KPIs. Like, what are the key performance indicators and how do we drive better care plan adherence when we understand our data, but also most importantly, the key drivers of those data points, the key drivers of those results. And so I'll get into a little discussion around something called Six Sigma, which changed my life, changed the way that I look at running a business, changed the way that I look at creating goals or overcoming challenges. So we're gonna dive deep into KPIs and Six Sigma and overall care plan adherence on the second webinar on the 11th. And the last one, we're gonna dig a lot deeper on AI and remote therapeutic monitoring. Now, everybody knows about AI now. I mean, like, it's just everywhere. So you know about it. You may or may not be using it. I'll talk some about AI today, and I'll talk some about remote therapeutic monitoring today. But on the third session, we're going to dig deep into, a detailed explanation of what the codes are, the medical necessity requirement, the documentation requirements around these new codes that exist for us to be able to bill, and most importantly, retain our patients and drive the best possible outcomes and experiences for them. So that's going to be a deep dive on AI and remote therapeutic monitoring. Today, you'll get an overview as part of this discussion. Okay, so today, minimizing staff and maximizing profit. So the why is gonna lead off the conversation. Then I'm gonna talk about the what, like what happened that made this all come about. And then we're going to talk about the how. And the how has multiple elements. It has like our brick and mortar elements, like how we actually did it in the clinics, and then how we leverage technology and specifically AI at a high level and remote therapeutic monitoring at a high level in order to improve efficiency so we didn't need as many players on the team. And so that's how this day is going to go. And then lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A for sure. So let's talk about the why. Well, as Brian so perfectly started us off, people matter. And like, I know the title of this presentation, like minimizing staff and maximizing profit, seems kind of cold. And like anybody who knows me knows that like I really give a shit about people. Like I care about people. I care about people on my team. I care about our patients. I care about our communities. I care about our profession. And so people matter. And at the same time, no profit, no mission. So if we can't be profitable because things are getting more and more difficult out there, then we've got to find the ways, and I'm giving you a formula today, to do the right things for the business and the people who remain in it in order to be successful so that you can continue to deliver on your mission. So
I've been allowed to interrupt, so I'm just going to throw
absolutely
the term yes and, meaning people can matter and you take care of people, clients, or excuse me, patients, staff, and community, and using technology. So there's an integration available there.
Absolutely. And you need the right people on the team who know how to leverage the technology to maximize all of that opportunity. So it's a great point, Brian. So another big why is that A+ player recruiting and retention is harder than ever before. I'll just share a really honest story with you guys. So we have 4 clinics in the DC region, and we were looking to hire a CA, and it's taken us a couple of months, and we have very specific hiring criteria. We don't let just anybody into our culture, but it took us a couple of months to hire somebody, and we just hired them. And after their first morning session, they quit. And now we've got an extensive vetting process, and we thought this person was going to be able to be a good fit, and we just missed the mark. And so I just wanted to share that with you. Like, if you're having problems recruiting and retaining people, and we've got a phenomenal practice, and we've got a great culture, but it is really, really hard. So you're not alone out there. We deal with it, but we've built recruiting and retention infrastructure into our business so that we can pick up the pieces if something like that happens. And I don't have time to get into the recruiting piece and the retention piece today, but I will say this: have a recruiting strategy. Have a recruiting strategy. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the AI piece. But that's really, really important. Again,
Joey Coleman plug.
Yes.
What's the book?
So his first book was Never Lose a Customer Again, and his second book was Never Lose an Employee Again. And that's it's a great suggestion. I love that book. Actually, we were fortunate enough to be one of the case studies in that book. Kaizo Health was, and so that's my clinic name. And so yeah, check it out. It's an amazing read, best-selling book. Joey Coleman's a freaking rock star. So again, retention is harder than it's ever been before, and definitely costs have been higher than ever before. People are expecting, reasonably or unreasonably, much higher pay rates. Some people are worth it and some people are not. And that's an individual decision that business owners and entrepreneurs have to make, but it is getting more expensive. And then lastly, what the really big why is that you want to improve your practice profitability so that you can actually improve your practice experience. And I know, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur of multiple companies, like, it can be really, really stressful. And at the end of the day, I want to share this journey with you today in the goal that actually your practice experience will improve. Now, if we don't improve our profitability, the likelihood of us having an improved practice experience is pretty low. So those two things go hand in hand. And I'm going to share with you what we did so that we could actually improve profitability. Now, this is going to take a shift in your mindset. You're just going to have to think differently than you thought in the past. And what did Einstein say, Brian? Do you remember? It's like
can't solve
the definition of insanity, right?
Oh, I thought it was, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that you created the problem with.
Exactly. And he also said, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Like, it just can't happen. We are having a massive shift in our practices right now. We've never really done a bunch of cash services. We are literally shifting our model, and I would say adding to our model a bunch of cash services that are, of course, evidence-based, good for the patient, but also good for the practice. We needed to shift our mindset because, let's face it, if you're dealing in insurance, third-party reimbursement is not getting better. It's getting a whole lot worse. You don't want me to go down that rabbit hole because you hear a bunch of F-bombs, which I will refrain from today. So it's
Thank you, sir.
also about, yeah, it's also about rethinking people. Like, this is the conversation that we're having today. We have to rethink people, and we have to rethink process, and we've got to embrace new technology. And that's really just how it is, guys. Like, it is just the facts. I will share with you that the organizational structure that I'm sharing today is not for everyone. There are very successful practices out there that have check-in and check-out CAs. They've got multiple front desk CAs. But we've decided to go in a different direction, and it's been extremely beneficial for us. And again, today I'm going to show you how. So if you're open to it, change, opportunity, progress is here. And I think the goal here for all of us is to be able to do more with less. You know, if we can decrease our human capital expenditure, which is typically the number one cost driver in any, not just practice, but any business, unless you're manufacturing, but certainly any service business, the goal is to do more with less, certainly over time. So let's start with the what. So what happened? What happened where we decided, like, you know what we're going to do is we're going to decrease the amount of staff in our clinics in order to increase profitability. Well, what happened was in 2019, COVID happened. And so during that process, you know, our numbers continued to decline. We actually had 5 practices at the time. And so I remember, and I'll never forget this day, on May 8th, 2019, I'm a data geek. And so I was running our numbers and we were down 80%. Now, I've been in business for, at that point, it was 25 years. And like being down 80%, you know, could have been soul crushing for me, but actually it wasn't. It was memorable. It was remarkable, but I never felt despair. And one of the reasons why I never felt despair is I knew that we had been through tough times before. So I knew we were going to get through this. And I also knew that we had the right people in the right seats to help us do that. And I had people on my team, you guys, that took massive pay cuts in order to keep the business afloat. And what was really great for me is at the end of the year, because our numbers came back up, I was able to repay everybody back the cuts they took. Like, that was my mission. That was my personal mission. I was like, they were sacrificing for me. And so I wanted to make sure that whatever I could do to get them paid back, I did. And that was a goal of mine, and we did. But nonetheless, May 8th, 2019, our practices were 80% down. And we were going to climb out of it. And when we started to climb out of it, when the numbers started to come back up, because May 8th was the lowest point, when we started to, you know, come out of this and people were coming back to work. And by the way, you know, our policy was, it was always our team first, our patient second. So if our team didn't want to come in because they were scared, they were nervous, they just didn't want to come to work, they didn't have to. And so when people started coming back to work, and some of our doctors and some of our CAs worked the entire time, but when people were starting to come back to work and patients were starting to come back to the practice, our doctors stayed and or returned, because one of our doctors actually took a little bit of time off. And our rehab and our clinical CAs returned because we knew that our front desk CAs couldn't do rehab, but our rehab CAs could do some administrative tasks. So we're like, okay, so if we've got, you know, X number of patients for the day, let's say it was 20 patients in a given day, because it was pretty slow, our doctors would see the patients, our rehab CA would, you know, help with rehab and help with the therapies, whatever they needed to do. And then if they needed to take a copay or reschedule an appointment or whatever else administrative they needed to do, they did that. And we had our admin and operations team handle all of that stuff, other stuff remotely. So what were the things that ultimately our rehab CAs needed to do? Well, they checked the patients in, but they pointed them toward the Genesis portal. Again, in the spirit of leveraging outstanding technology, like, you know, getting patients to check in using Genesis greatly eliminates the need for a front desk person. Like, all of that stuff can be done just using the portal. And Brian, you may want to comment on that.
Well, we also have the patient-facing app, My Clinic Mind, that they can use on their phones as well. So
Sure, exactly.
seamless, and it's all dialed in, and it's integrated with Embody now. So
Right. And you don't need a staff member to do that for you.
Correct.
We were able to easily collect copays and deductibles, and like we don't take cash in our practices. Nobody pays with checks anymore. All we basically do is get credit cards. And so we're just actually they're just like swiping the credit card or running the or processing the payment through Genesis, which Genesis makes it really easy. If the patient needed any assistance with scheduling, they would do that. By the way, those CAs were already used to scheduling the patient because the patient schedules out their entire care plan at the beginning of care. So this was like nothing new. Yeah, they had to scan some paperwork and checks, and then other responsibilities as assigned, or what I call aura. So those are like the main responsibilities that our rehab CAs had to do, and that's pretty much what they still do today. Now,
And
as we got, yeah,
real quick, I've
sure.
experienced this firsthand,
Yes.
as a patient and participating in your office. And in the beginning, I was like, how do you do this? And it was seamless. So I saw the CA across the room, and she just pointed to the screen to check in. I was like, done. Super easy.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, Brian. Like our offices are very open. We have a huge rehab area. It's open to the reception area. Nothing is really closed off. Our treatment rooms are in the periphery, but all the treatment rooms have a line of sight to our rehab and our front desk area. So like it's set up in a way that this really works well. But like, what does it cost to have a CA at the front desk for a year versus cutting down a wall? Like just think about that. And again, it's about like, what is our mindset around change? So as we got busier, and this is really interesting because like it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. Like as we got busier and as we started coming back and we brought more of our rehab CAs back, they were like, when are we going to have, a front desk CA? When are we going to do this? And, me and Kat, who's my director of operations, and even the clinic directors, we had multiple conversations during this era of our practice life cycle. And it just got to the point where we realized that we were never going to have front desk CAs again. Like we're just never going to do it. And over a period of, I would say, a good 18 to 24 months after COVID, this question after COVID, after the depths of the depths on May 8th, 2019. So we're talking like, up to 2 years, our team would be like, so when are we going to have front desk CAs again? I was like, guys, we're never going to have front desk CAs again. Like you can ask me 1 million times, and you know what? 1 million times, you're going to get the same answer. I'm never doing it again. And I'll share with you just, personal struggles. And we had some really good front desk CAs over the years, and we had some people. And what's really interesting, you guys, is that Kat, who's our director of operations, I'll share kind of what she does in just a minute. She started off as a front desk CA. So it's kind of ironic, but like, I was very lucky to have Kat. Like I just, I'm blessed that, the universe, smiled on me and said, this person's going to interview, and, we actually hired her. And so anyway, we were very consistent with our messaging, but we were also consistent with the why. We were trying to explain, we didn't try, we actually like literally explained to them the nuts and bolts, the profits and losses around the business, and how we needed to make sure that we were financially responsible, and that we only wanted revenue producing people in the clinics, and how we could run the business remotely, like operationally, we could run it remotely without needing a front desk person. And I did have, very honestly, I did have a lot of, front desk CA PTSD. Like the number of times that I walked in and like they just, were scrolling on their phone or just not doing everything they could do to like drive value to the practice. I mean, look, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're all busting our asses, doing everything we can to help our practices thrive. And like when I walk in and I see somebody not giving 110%, it pisses me off, and I don't like it, and I don't put up with it. And so like we just had challenges over time finding really high level CAs. So it got to a point where like, all right, we can run the business without having CAs. We demonstrated it. Through COVID, it was a great use case for us, and now we'll never go back again. All right, so let's talk about the how. How do we actually make this happen? So I'll share with you like our success formula, like what we did from a brick and mortar perspective. I'll share with you some, and again, we're going to get into AI and remote therapeutic monitoring in much greater detail in webinar 3, but I do want to share with you ways that AI and remote therapeutic monitoring tools can improve efficiency and decrease staffing needs. Like that's real, those things are really, really important because it will help you generate more work product, help you generate better patient retention without a CA calling your patients being like, hey, Joe, you missed your appointment. Can you come back in? Like, guys, those days are over. Like, they're just over. There's a better way to drive a better patient experience that we can retain our patients, give them the best experience and outcome, and ultimately drive better profitability in our practices.
And get
So,
paid. And get paid for things we've been doing for decades for free.
yeah, for free. We've been doing it for free, but now we can get paid. And I will get into that. Again, we'll get into that a lot more in webinar 3, but I will get into that at a high level today just to give you guys an overview of what's possible. So, I love this GIF. The revolving door of front desk staff. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I would love to hear in the chat, if you guys have ever experienced the revolving door of a front desk staff. I've been very transparent with you guys. Like, if you've experienced it, it would just be great to share so that we don't feel like we're alone in this. So we realized that we're tired of the revolving door of front desk staff. So what we did is we identified, the A+ players on our team. And we had real conversations with them, like real meaningful conversations with them about what do they enjoy doing? What do they love about their job? What worked for them? What didn't work for them? Where do they think their zone of genius was? Where do they have the most obstacles and challenges? And then we pulled those people to work from home and created their job around those things that they were best at. Like, we all want to work in our zones of genius. Now, as business owners, sometimes we don't always get to, but really, our highest purpose is to work in our zones of genius. And for us as entrepreneurs and business owners, and if we're really good leaders, we care about helping our team work in their greatest zones of genius. I've got somebody else who ironically started as a front desk CA. She worked both sides of the floor, but she's really good at numbers and she loves running reports. So she handles all of her analytics. And so, but she could do that anywhere. She could do it from India. She could do it from China. She could do it anywhere. And so we give people the opportunity to do what they're best at within a seat, within a job role that actually makes sense for the business. So we did that and people were able to work from home. So our director of operations, if you can see this person right here, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but second from the left, that's Kat. She works in Colorado. Over here, this is Casey, the first one on the left. She's the person who loves numbers and loves analytics and running reports. She works in Williamsburg, Virginia. She's actually Dr. Pinto's patient, which I just love. I love that a team member of mine is actually going to a chiropractor who happens to be a good friend of mine. Love that. We've got Stephanie. She works in Colorado. We've got Kathleen. She works in Baltimore, but she does do site visits in our clinics each week, which does help, but she's not sitting at a front desk. She's more about patient experience, patient engagement, staff experience, staff engagement. And then we've got Charisse, and she works in Southern Maryland. If we needed her to come into the office, she could. She's close, but we have her working at home because, it's just a better experience for her, and she does great work. So we utilize Microsoft Teams to communicate. We use Zooms, obviously, to do meetings. We have voice over IP phones. And then we also, obviously, we use email to manage all the operational processes remotely. So what you can see here is there's a heavy use of technology to handle things automatically. So this is the 5-person operations team, and everybody, and even Kathleen, who does come into the clinics, she also works from home a couple days a week as well. And then this, who I mentioned, Kathleen, she's the one regional administrative coordinator, and she handles operation items that really support the clinic teams. So this is an important element. She's always talking to the patients and finding out about their experience, but that's the outcome, right? The inputs, and I won't go down the Six Sigma road today, but I will go down it on the next webinar. What are the key inputs that drives the experience? And what we know from the evidence, what we know from the studies that have been conducted on patient satisfaction and loyalty is that a highly engaged team drives a highly engaged employee. So she's really there to support our clinic teams. What do they need? Do they have inventory needs? Do they have other operational needs? Where are there hiccups for them? So we've got somebody who's kind of hybrid. She's boots on the ground when she needs to be, but she also can work from home when she's got to do some of those other important operational elements of her job. So again, using voice over IP systems in order to manage the phone system, we have a phone tree. We've set up this whole operational tree that new patient calls get routed a certain way. When attorneys want to call our office and get a balance, they get routed a certain way. Existing patients get routed a certain way. So Kat built out this whole routing system to make our phone system more efficient. Guys, let's face it, like we have to answer the phone. Like they're just patients that will call, but the less we're on the phones, the more operationally efficient we are. So again, our communication system is done through Teams. So we're like everybody in the entire company is using Teams. So the clinics have Microsoft Teams up and they're messaging each other. Like we don't have to yell across the clinic and like knock on the door, the treatment door to Dr. Sheldon's office and be like, hey, Dr. Sheldon, Mary's ready. Like none of that happens anymore. Like we use Microsoft Teams, we have a chat. And so like the CA knows that Mary's ready, just messages the doctor and says, Mary's ready. And then the doctor comes out and gets Mary, or the doctor lets Mary in the treatment room. And the same thing happens operationally. Like, and this happens all the time, you guys. A new patient calls, the schedule's packed, and, hey, Dr. Dell, we've got a new patient that was referred by, their orthopedist, they're in a lot of pain. Will you be able to squeeze this patient in? You already have a new patient at 3 and you've got another new patient at 4:30. Would you be okay, seeing that patient because your other, your regular patient visits are full? And so like those types of communications need to happen, because if we just slap that third new patient in a row onto Dr. Dell's schedule, he might be like, what the hell? Like I'm slammed. Like I'm slammed. So like we're always trying to communicate to make sure that we're delivering the right kind of experience to the members of our team. They know what's going on operationally from a scheduling perspective, because all the scheduling happens either automatically or through our central operations team. Like our clinic staff will only schedule or reschedule a patient. They'll only schedule at the very, very beginning of care. And then they'll only reschedule a patient if the patient asks during a clinic visit. But otherwise, it all happens through the use of technology, and or if somebody calls in and requests an appointment. So, and if anybody has any questions around that, like especially as it relates to the new patient scheduling, I'm happy to address that at the end. The goal is to automate as many processes as possible. Guys, we're in the digital healthcare age. We are in the technology age. The more we automate, the less team members we need. I was literally having a conversation with a gentleman by the name of James Bazakos. Now, if anybody is familiar with the Chiropractic Summit and Dr. Lou Bazakos, Dr. Lou is a legend in the chiropractic community. Dr. Lou was chairman of the summit. He did an amazing job leading us through the Obamacare issue and Section 2706 around equality for chiropractic. He's just a legend. His son actually happens to be a marketer, but he's an expert in AI. And I met with him yesterday, and he showed me how he built custom GPTs in order to completely eliminate a marketing strategist in his company, like an entire role. And by the way, a highly paid role. What he did is he figured out the deliverables of that role, and he built AI automations of what that person would have done. And then ultimately, they didn't have to hire that role. Like that's just crazy remarkable. And so this is how automation and technology can make a huge difference in your business. So
Jay, real quick,
Yeah.
and this is a shameless plug here. I want to
Sure.
just put this in on the Genesis side of things. We now have a virtual front desk service, or excuse me, Clinic Mind side of things. I'm just going to put that link in there for those of you who want to do that. If you're not ready to ramp this up on your own, you can certainly click on this link and take a look. Sorry.
Well, no, that's great. I love that. I'll talk a little bit about VAs as well that we've used as part of the how. And I also want to just say, like, what Kat has done in the spirit of automation and leveraging Genesis to its fullest potential. Because Genesis, you guys, if you don't know, it's a freaking beast. Like it is so powerful, but you've got to like learn how to use it effectively. And so like what Kat did is she learned how to build out all these automated task workflows so that she's not managing people, the system manages people. And so again, in the spirit of automation that I just talked about, and the AI that already exists inside of Genesis, it's critically important to learn how to build out those automated task workflows so that the system manages people and process, not you. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you can reach out to your lead at Genesis and they can help you do that. Brian, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that was solid. I put the link there too.
Okay, great. Thank you. So again, when we build out our scheduling SOP, like we had to like establish rules for our central ops team to schedule patients when they called in, or if somebody did it through Embody, or they did it through our online form, like we just had to have rules that everybody understood, so there was no conflict between the ops teams and the clinic teams. And again, there's still, I can't emphasize this enough, you guys. If you decide to move to this model and you centralize scheduling and you centralize operations, you know, at the end of the day, communication still freaking matters. Like, you still got to be amazing communicators and set really clear expectations and appropriate guidelines when you build your SOPs. Again, communicating in times where we need a fast answer can be challenging, and we have codes to indicate urgency of messages. So like on the tech side of the business, we call these like a P0. Like this is something that has to be addressed immediately. And so like, we know like other messages could come through, but like we need to address this right now. So again, this is part of the SOP of prioritizing what work needs to be done and what actions need to be taken. Make sure that you have ops people available to field complicated questions from patients who are in the clinic. This does happen. So like a patient may want to ask something about a bill they received, or some stupid correspondence from an insurance company that only like somebody with a PhD in legalese could understand. And so, you know, they need help. And so what we do is we would then message the ops team, and then we would just put the patient, you know, at the desk, and then they could pick up the phone, and the ops team would just call them and in the clinic and say, okay, this is what's happening. You know, this is why they sent this. This is what it means, or whatever the situation is. Maybe they want help with their bill. They want help with their bill. Like, that's not going to be our clinic CAs. Like, they're taking care of patients. So we have the ops team handle those tasks, and it just runs very, very smoothly. Also, when you think about this central operational thing, it's no different than staffing your clinic. You know, only one person on ops takes off at a time. And so they end up learning how to cover for one another, which is a really important thing. And many of them are completely cross-trained. Like, not everybody does everything. Like, not everybody can do what Kat and Casey can do, but Kat and Casey can do what everybody else can do. And the other three can do 80% of what everybody else does as well. So stagger your time off, and then just make sure that you cross-train people so that everybody can pitch in when needed. Again, leveraging technology for ops to keep phone lines free is really what it's all about. Regular patients do call, but we continually remind them, oh, you can do this through the Embody app. Like, people need to hear something 7 to 9 times before they really actually get it. So we're constantly reminding patients to use our technology because we want to keep our phone lines free. So what are our biggest wins? Well, clearly improve financial results. We were able to improve profitability right away. But what's also really important is that we had less defects. So again, in the spirit of Six Sigma, I'll talk about this on our next webinar. But defects are a business killer, like killer. And so when we think about the revenue cycle management of our businesses, like when a patient comes in and collecting their insurance information, if we're doing insurance, and then, entering, making sure that information is correct, and then submitting to the clearinghouse, and hopefully y'all are using Infinity, because Infinity is giving back to the chiropractic profession. And then the clearinghouse sends it to the payer, and then we get our ERA back, and then we've got to check the patient responsibility to make sure it's paid correctly. Like, all of those things, if there are defects in that initial process, you won't get paid. And so what we do every single day is we have somebody on our team who checks all the demographic data entry, because even patients can put information wrong into the portal. And so we check that every day, because what we've learned is that when we check those demographic data points, anything that's going to go on a claim, we make sure that it's 100% correct. We can get paid in as fast as 5 days. And we do, like, we just do. And that's also a testament to the Infinity platform and the Genesis platform. It's like all these technologies working together to get us paid quickly, which improves our cash flow. But think about this. We have one person on our ops team that's checking demos every single day. That's their role. Now, everybody else knows how to do it, but that's their role. Versus if we have 4 different front desk people checking demographic data every single day, we've got 4 different opportunities for someone to miss the mark. So now Kat has one person to supervise to make sure that demos are correct, versus 4. It's 400% more complex to deal with 4 people doing this versus just one. So therefore, less defects means cleaner claims, quicker turnaround on revenue, and improvement also on patient collections as well. So the faster we know what the patient paid, what the provider, what the insurance paid the provider, the faster we can just audit that patient balance to make sure that it's correct. And if we need to make any changes, we can. And by the way, because that's so quick, then the clinical CAs can just get that the next time the patient walks through the door. I also think it's had a tremendous impact on culture. So we have much, much less turnover, and less turnover means a lot less retraining. So Kat is not spending her time training new people. Casey's not spending her time training new people. You know what we're doing? We're talking about how we grow the business. We're talking about how we add cash services. We're talking about how we add, subscription models to our business. Like, we're talking about growth. Like, I don't want to talk about turnover. I don't want to talk about retraining the third front desk CA that was scrolling, through her Instagram feed. Like, I'm done with that. And so, like, now we're talking about things that actually move the needle in our business. And like, we believe that we can grow again. Like, we want to work with other chiropractors. We think there's a great opportunity to merge with other chiropractic practices in the region and around the country, because we've built amazing infrastructure. And so if we've got great culture, great infrastructure, how do we bring other chiros on board who are struggling that we can just help them? And so that's kind of our clinical model. And we can do that because we've built this infrastructure. So again, we've got happier staff because people are doing what they love and they're good at it. And also there's a lot of autonomy. If anybody's ever read the book Drive by Dan Pink, he said there are 3 things that drive internal motivation, which is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The way that people get autonomy is you build mastery. So you train them well so they can be autonomous. And if you have a great culture and the mission of your practice is really clear, then you've got purpose. I literally never spent a second during any day wondering if my team is working hard. Like, I just don't. Like, I know they're working hard. I know they're committed to the mission of the organization, and I know they're having fun. And so that's the goal. And I could go back to that picture, but you could probably tell from that picture that I showed you of the ops team, like, they love each other. Like, that was at a recent event that we did at Topgolf in June, because we do get together and we bring people in and we pay for their travel and all that stuff, so that we can all be together. But like, a remote team that loves each other this much, is a testament that you can build a culture by having a 100% remote ops team. You can. It is possible because we've done it, and we are nothing special. Okay, you guys can do it too. And again, so you don't have to waste time and money on training new employees at the front desk who inevitably leave or don't work out. Now, Brian mentioned virtual CAs. Like, we use Chiro Matchmakers, and I think the Genesis program is relatively new. There's new things I'm finding out about Genesis every single day. By the way, they also have a credentialing component to their business now. I never knew that until a couple of weeks ago. So if you need credentialing, go to Genesis. That's my little plug for them. But yeah, like, you can hire a virtual CA who can do ops work, and you can do it at a fraction of the cost. And when you do hire someone and they help you build the SOPs, these people are also much easier to manage. Brian, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I'm just putting the link in. I was putting the link for credentialing in there.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of, well, yeah, I guess I am going to say something. So it takes a lot of the stress off of the mundane and follow-up to have your credentialing done through technology and someone who's focused on making sure it happens on a consistent basis. And that includes like relicensure, credentialing new practitioners, all those types of things that can slow down cash flow.
Yeah. And, this brings me back to, and I'm glad that you said that, Brian, because it brings me back to like the greatest level of genius. Like all of us have our zones of genius, and like, we should be working in those zones. Like, there's no reason why a doctor should be doing credentialing. And if you've got like an office manager who's like wicked great at collecting money or building new programs or whatever they're wicked great at, like, don't have them do credentialing. Like, let the credentialing specialist do it. And like, I think it's ridiculously inexpensive, right, Brian? It's like $84 a month or something. Yeah. Like, just do that, right? Like, let those people do that, and you focus on your zones of genius. Okay, so what we talked about first in the how was kind of the brick and mortar, like, step-by-step approach of how we did what we did. Now we're going to talk about how we have this operation ongoing, and there's really 2 things that we're doing on a regular basis and they're both related to leveraging new technology. So the first one is AI. So when it comes to building and retaining A-player teams, and again, I'm going to have a long discussion, and we're going to even workshop some of this together on September the 26th. But building and retaining A-player teams, like, you can use AI to help you do this. So this is just a quick example of building a job description with the use of AI. So, like, I'm just going to play this video really quick. So I told you about Kathleen. She's boots on the ground in the clinic, but she's also, she does get to work remotely several days per week. So this was a new position for us. We decided that we wanted to add it. And so I literally went to ChatGPT and I built this job description. And like, we found her within about 2 weeks of putting out this ad because it was built with psychographics in mind. Again, I'll get into this in much greater detail in a few weeks. But because we built a great job ad, we were able to recruit the right type of person and then hire them. And then we used ChatGPT to help build a new job description and then a new training checklist. And all this can be done really fast. And the reason that I say that, again, this is about driving efficiency through technology. So if you've got an office manager, do you want her writing a job description and a 90-day training checklist by hand? Or can you just could you just do it with the use of AI, which will exponentially improve efficiency? Again, this is this is the job responsibilities, and you can, like, this is literally how fast you can do it, guys. So again, high level, I want you to think about using ChatGPT for more than just content. Now I'll show you content in just a second, but like, we use it for letters of medical necessity. Like, we use it for creating graphics. Like, we use it for so many different things in our businesses. So just think outside the box. In fact, make sure there's no box when you're thinking about how to use AI to be more efficient. Here's an example of using AI for new patient acquisition. Again, like, our marketing team can build out content for our patients. Like, I want to make sure that we are driving internal referrals into our practice. Internal referrals, as you all know, doesn't cost anything. So how do we build out content so that we can help other people, our patient base, know the conditions that we treat, so they can actually inspire other people to come into our practices? So this is a whole strategy, a 3-phase strategy or 4-phase strategy around building an internal referral campaign. And then I can go in and dig even deeper. Like, one of the ideas was to build a webinar, and I can actually go in and have it build the webinar for me, which I did. Okay. The last piece of technology that I want to talk about to improve efficiency is remote therapeutic monitoring. Now, this is like really new to the chiropractic space. And Brian mentioned that we can now get paid for remote therapeutic monitoring. And so I'm going to give like a high level overview and also explain how we're using it in our practices in order to, again, improve efficiency, need less staff, but most importantly, drive a more memorable experience. So remote therapeutic monitoring, there are 4 codes that we can bill, we as chiropractors can bill for monitoring our patients remotely. The first code is onboarding and educating the patient on our app. The second one is 16 data points that are being reported by the patient to the provider in a 30-day consecutive period. The third code is 20 minutes of time spent in a given calendar month that you're spending monitoring the patient remotely. So if you think about things that Brian mentioned, like, oh, I've got to build their home exercise program. I never got paid for that before. Oh, I've got to monitor their home exercise patient, their home exercise program. I never got paid for that before. Oh, I've got to call my patient because they called the office and said their back is hurting after the adjustment. Oh, I never got paid for that before. Well, guys, you can now get paid for this work. And then the 98981 is just an additional unit of 20 minutes of time spent by the provider in a given calendar month. Now, what's really interesting about these codes, you guys, is that the first code is a one-time code. These other 3 codes are evergreen, meaning you can build them every 30 days or every calendar month as long as the criteria is being met. Another really important thing to understand is that these first 2 codes is mainly done by the technology and the patient. The provider has to do very little in order to make sure that these criteria are met. So when it comes to if we don't have front desk people, how do we drive a more remarkable patient experience and improve retention? And retention was something that was mentioned by Dr. Tom Young, in one of the chats early on. Like, how do we drive retention? By driving a better patient experience. And here's what we know. And guys, like the things that I tell you are evidence-based. I live in a research world. I have a clinical research institute. We publish studies all the time. Like I'm not pulling crap out of my butt, literally. Like if I have an opinion, I'll tell you it's an opinion. But otherwise, everything that I share with you today is completely data-driven. And so like we know from the data and Harvard Business Review actually published a systematic review on this that gamifying an experience actually improves healthcare behaviors. We know that it improves retention. And we published 2 studies on this. You can actually go to PubMed. You can see right there on the right-hand side, it says Greenstein mobile app. And we published 2 studies on this. One, the use of gamification to improve adherence. And the second study was both adherence and revenue. Because in a fee-for-service model, if our patients are coming in when they're supposed to versus not coming in, then we're going to drive more revenue in our business. And that's exactly what our gamification approach demonstrated. We improved adherence and we improved revenue. So remote therapeutic monitoring is when you use software as a medical device, which is what Embody is. And it's not a commercial, but like this is my company. This is what we do. So I'm sharing with you what we've done in our practices and what our other customers have done in order to drive better experiences, retention, and revenue without adding more staff. Okay, this is how you leverage technology to be more efficient and effective in your practice. So, if it feels like a commercial, I apologize, but I'm just sharing with you the power that this has. So this is smart RTM technology. There's a patient app side, and then there's a provider portal where we can see everything that's happening with our patients. Now, I'll be very honest with you guys, like the patient user experience is just, it's beautiful, it's sleek, it's modern. The provider portal, it's practical, it's effective. Is it as beautiful? No. But the most important thing is that there are very specific action items that we give you insight on of things that you can do in order to help your patient. So we notify you when a patient is not responding to care. If they're worse, if they're much worse, if they're the same, and of course, if they're better as well, but you have insight into patient outcomes when they're not in the clinic. We also have insight because we're monitoring the patients remotely when the patient is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know about you guys, but is it not the most annoying thing in the world when a patient comes in and they're like, I'm not getting any better. And you're like, are you doing your home exercises? And like, kind of, well, yeah, I'm doing them. Okay, show me how to do cat camel. And they don't even know what cat camel is, right? They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And by the way, Mary, you're not getting any better, but you've missed 3 out of your last 6 appointments. Like we know that patient behaviors can be very poor, and that's ultimately going to yield a poor outcome. So what we're doing is we are giving insight into the patient behaviors and their outcomes when the patients are not in the clinic. So we get feedback from the patient after their clinic visits and after they perform their home exercise programs. So again, we've got gamification, 3 layers of gamification built into the app to drive better retention. And what's really great is that because we've got our integration with Genesis, when you guys put your diagnosis into the problem list, we pull that diagnosis and we automate the entire home exercise program for you. So again, in the spirit of not needing more staff, the doctor does not have to sit there and create the home exercise program for the patient. It happens automatically. And as the patient reports how they feel afterwards, after each exercise session, our system will use AI and then personalize and customize the next set of exercises based on how the patient reports. We did many, many human design studies and interviews with high-level chiropractors over the last 2 years. And what we found is they hated doing home exercises, setting them up, and most of them don't monitor or change the home exercises because it's impossible. It's so cumbersome to manage all of your patients and the changes that are specifically required. So that's why we built in AI, because as the patients are reporting through their healthcare journey, we customize and personalize the next set of exercise for them and constantly work to level them up to a higher level of function. All of that happens without humans. That's why we don't need front desk CAs. This is just an example of what the provider sees, because as the patient reports, we can see when there's an increased symptom when a patient does a particular exercise, and then we can respond to that as needed. The patient and the provider are intimately connected through a HIPAA-secure environment. And why is that important? Because we know that relationships drive retention. There's a lot of people out there like, oh yeah, we're going to educate our patients. We're going to watch 15 modules on why chiropractic saves your life. That's great. Do that. But let's face it, what really drives retention when it comes to behaviors and behavior change is in large part due to the relationship that the patient has with the provider. And so what I learned during COVID, again, another lesson learned, is that the use of technology to connect patient and provider is critically important. We were using telehealth during COVID, and we had telehealth before COVID, by the way, but we were using it not so much because we could bill for it, and we did, and we generated like $40,000 in revenue from telehealth during COVID. But what I really realized is that it was so meaningful because we could check in on our patients and they knew that we gave a shit. They knew that we cared about them, and that strengthened the relationship. And they were the ones to like immediately come back and want to get their adjustments and want to get their rehab and want to get their soft tissue work right away as soon as they felt comfortable coming back into the clinic. So creating a digital relationship between the patient and the provider is key. We also have seamless scheduling. So again, no need for a front desk person to be picking up the phone and scheduling Mary. Like in my mind, those days are over. Like I'm never having that again. And so they can schedule seamlessly through the app. And then of course, the messaging piece, whether it's reporting after their clinic visit, reporting after their home exercises, or maybe in the middle of their day, they picked up their kid from daycare and they hurt their back and they want to find a way to connect with the provider without having to pick up the phone, talk to a front desk person. So incredibly annoying. They just want to message the clinic and say, I've got a problem. Can somebody help me and get back to me? And so what my ops team does, my central ops team, is if there's an admin request, like, hey, I got this bill, I don't know what it's about, or they'll handle that directly. But if it's a clinical question, they just message in Teams my providers and they say, hey, Dr. Sheldon, Mary's got a problem. She picked up her kid. She hurt her back. Can you respond to her in the app? And that's exactly what our doctors will do. They'll just respond right back to the patient. And again, we can see how they're doing, how they're performing, and whether or not they're doing the things they need to do in order to improve. All of these things we get paid for. But there's a deeper level of the messaging piece, which I just want to like briefly talk about, because when we were building this technology, we were using another like review management and messaging service, which they'll remain nameless. But like Cat wanted certain features to be built. There was really some significant problems that we couldn't do the things that we wanted to do. And Cat was like, I don't even know what to do. So I went to my development team and I'm like, can you guys build this? And Jake, who's our developer, said, well, let me talk to Cat. So Jake spoke to Cat and they had several meetings and then we just decided to build the product. So we like built an entirely new experience around patient communication, review management, new patient online scheduling. Like we basically built this product. And so it's still part of InBody and it's still part of remote therapeutic monitoring, but it's all around patient communication. So two-way text messaging. And I think this is something that is also a differentiator for us, is that we've got HIPAA secure in-app messaging and we've got SMS messaging. And that saves our team a ton of time, right? Because nobody's picking up the phone. We can do broadcast messaging. But what's really important and unique about what we did is that we can switch from SMS messaging to HIPAA secure messaging. So if a patient does an SMS and says, hey, my back hurts, we'll respond and say, I just want you to know that SMS messaging is not HIPAA compliant. Would you like us to respond in our HIPAA secure in-app messaging? And we're encouraging them to get out of SMS and into the app. If they say, no, I don't care, I just want somebody to SMS me back, then our providers will do that. But at least we have a secure way for them to protect their privacy, their data privacy and security. Guys, compliance matters. It just does. And I've been hacked. I was hacked 5 years ago, and I know what that experience is like. So knowing what my experience was like, I never want that to happen to a patient or to a provider. And so we built that capability in. But another thing that we did is that when our doctors actually create a message, whether it's in-app or an SMS message, all they've got to do is click plus template, and they can save that message. And it also has, what's it called? Smart messaging or something where, dynamic text, so that they can just stick the name in to that template and then it automatically fires. So we're not having to repeat the same messaging over and over and over again. And because we do it that way, we need less staff. Again, online scheduling is seamless. They can just click on book appointment. And not only can they fill out a form, but because of our integration with Genesis, all that information goes into the Genesis schedule. And I know some people have an issue with controlling their schedule. I'll get to that in just a second. But all this information goes directly into the schedule. So our staff doesn't have to do anything. Like our staff doesn't have to manage anything, but if they see a new patient on the schedule, make sure that we have all the information that we need. And what we did is, if you guys are familiar with the Genesis notes section that comes up when you hover over a patient or when you get into a patient, that little note section, we've got all of that patient information that they entered into our system that goes automatically into Genesis. It also comes up in the notes section. So there's just a really quick way for us to check that information to make sure that it's correct. And of course, the third level of data protection is that we keep all that information in our platform. So if anybody ever wants to go back to it, they can. Again, guys, we are automating all of these processes so that we don't have to deal with one of our team members getting on a phone and spending 20 minutes on a phone call. It's a huge waste of time. Again, for
Jay,
regular patients.
Jay, real quick, and
Yeah.
interrupting, we have a question, one of our participants, about who answers the phone or helps out unsavvy tech people, like our elderly population.
Yep, it goes right to our ops team. Remember, I spoke earlier that we have a phone tree. So the patient dials in, their existing patient, new patient, attorney, physician. They can pick whatever one they are, and then it gets triaged to the right person, and then we just talk to them over the phone.
Awesome.
That's how we do it. And then, of course, all the templates that I talked about earlier, our ops team can build templates, our doctors can build templates, but all the templates exist. And we can do it based on patient-reported outcomes. So we actually have the capability that when a patient reports they're not feeling better, we can automate a message back to them right away that lets them know that we've been notified, the doctor's been notified, and that we'll be getting back to them within a period of time so that they're not just sitting there waiting and not knowing, I sent this message, why isn't anybody responding to me? We'll say, Dr. Sheldon is with a patient, he'll get back to you in the next 6 hours or 2 hours or 10 minutes. So we can automate all of that related to patient-reported outcomes. And guys, just being honest, there is not one system out there that has that. We are the only one that has that. And once you build the templates, then you build the automations. And again, the most important thing is the clinical exacerbations and concerns. So why the software? Why do you want to use these technologies? Because we have decreased staffing requirements. We've got these automations so that staff doesn't do this, technology does. There's only one integrated platform that does all these things very much tied to the patient experience and their outcomes. More robust automation and broadcast options. All the different criteria exist, triggers, again, patient outcomes. And then you set it up and it just runs and you never have to worry about it again. And the great thing is we got an amazing integration with Genesis. All right. Just in the spirit of retention, I just want you guys to know, again, data-driven. What we did is we looked at all of our patients over a 1-year period, over 1,400 patients that we studied. And what we found is that our patients who utilize Embody were 26% more adherent. They came in for 26% more visits. That's right, more visits than non-app users. So this is not just theoretical, you guys. If you want data, the data doesn't lie. This is what it is. It is what it is. You can also go back and read the studies that we published on gamification as well. So with the use of gamification, creating convenience for the patient, connecting the patient and the provider together, those things drive better retention for our practices. So shift your mindset, rethink your people, rethink your process, embrace new technology, and optimize profitability forever. So just in case you're asking, how can I get Embody for my practice? I'm just going to share with you really quick, last final pitch. We have 4 different pricing models, but here's what's going to happen. For the first 3 practices, we're only going to do this for 3 because we've got a wait list. But for the first 3 practices today, what we're going to do is you will be grandfathered into pricing for the life of the contract, unlimited. You'll pay $297 today. All right. Don't worry about what price point you need based on the amount of text messaging you're doing. We're gonna give you $297 down payment pricing today. You're going to be grandfathered into your pricing for the life of the contract. We're going to waive your setup fee, which is $247. You're going to use that discounted fee amount, $279 or whatever that was, $297. You're going to get that for the first 3 months, no matter what level of Embody you need. So that's up to a $1,200 value. You're going to get a coding and documentation guide, which is worth $179. You're going to get a free documentation and coding audit from Cairo Armor. They charge $1,000 to do this. You're going to get a free documentation audit on any part of your notes. They're going to do that because they're our compliance partner. And you're going to have access to our full Embody Trailblazer Hub, which is an online learning system that has all kinds of content around leadership, process management, hiring and firing, evidence-based report of findings, you name it, you've got it. $997, and you'll get monthly calls with our executive team, including me. You'll save over $3,600 if you purchase today. So if you purchase today, scan the QR code, you're basically getting, it's a down payment of $297. And then my team will meet with you, figure out which product you need. And then you'll still be grandfathered in for lifetime pricing, and you'll still have the Wave setup fee. And those first 3 months will stay at $297, no matter what model, what what area you need in terms of the number of SMS texts. So we're doing this because we're partnering with Genesis. We're doing it for you guys who spent your time with us today, and we're doing it because we know damn well that you're going to get an incredible ROI, because we didn't even talk about like what the number of patients are that are required, that you bill for, that you collect, that ends up paying for this system itself. But when you buy today, I will literally do a call with you and show you the exact number of patients you need to not just have this thing pay for itself, but to generate profitability through remote therapeutic monitoring. So again, it becomes a no-brainer. And by the way, last thing, if you buy today and you do a meeting with our team and you're not happy, we'll give you your money back, guaranteed. So there literally is no risk for you, but only the first 3 that buy today, because we do have a waiting list, and that's just what we're doing. So anyway, that's today's session. And I know that I ran long. God, I can't believe it, but I am more than willing to stay for Q&A.
I didn't even get to talk that much, but it's so couple things, man. We could go on and on and on. I know our time is limited, but I want to hear way more about Six Sigma, culture, Zone of Genius, mindset, adding cash, subscription services, gamification, psychographics. You ready? Can we go now? All right.
Can we go about?
Yeah, no, I'm teasing, but definitely tune in next time, because Doc is gonna dive deeper into Six Sigma. If you haven't heard of that, Jack Welch applied that to was it General Motors, GM,
General Electric, yeah.
GE. I apologize. Just phenomenal business tactics, and it applies to any industry. And I've seen it in action in your offices and Kaizenovate as well. For those who could not hit the QR code, Manal just put the link in there if you're already on your phone. Someone wanted to sign up just now. And
I saw that.
we put those links in there for CredEdge, as well as our virtual front desk. Jay, when is the next one coming up?
Yeah, so let me just go to that really, really quick, guys. I will go out of this.
And for everyone who's on this, it's the same link. So you can get in by the same link. So no need to, we'll be sending you emails. We'll send the replays on this as well. So please send to your friends and coworkers, or excuse me, colleagues. But next one, September 11th, 1 to 2, QR code is there. You'll be getting it email as well if you're already on this one.
So hold on. So Patrick, you're asking which link. Look at the link right above you in the chat where Manal put in the embodiedhealth.com checkout. That's the link that you're going to want to click on in order to purchase today. But I would do it quickly. And guys, just one last thing I'm going to say, like, I do have friends on this webinar, and thank you guys for attending. I hope it really, delivered value for you guys. I hope it delivered value for everybody. But one thing that I think my friends can attest to is that, yeah, we have a software company. Yeah, we have product to sell, and we are selling the product, right? We're growing. And it's not about that. It's about helping chiropractors get to their next level of greatness. Like, and anybody who knows me knows I'm committed to my customers, and I'm committed to the profession. And so anybody who buys today and makes a decision to join our community, just damn well know that I'm committed to making you be successful. So I just wanted to share that last piece.
I want to attest to that, because Jay's not paid me. I've known him since I was 19 years old. So, and I've only seen you evolve into just the amazing person you are today. And this product is incredible, and we got to catch up, chiropractors. We are way behind the game as far as technology is concerned. And thank you for blazing the trail, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. And right back at you, man. Like, Brian was one of my first CAs ever. And like, just to watch your growth and your development and where you're going in the world, you're a meteor, bro. And I can't wait to see where you're going next.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Joseph.